Oh, I already got a thumbs up. That was quick, but it doesn't show up that there's any views, but yet there's a thumbs up. That's weird. 2 already. Oh my goodness. Well, it's about my regular time when I get up. But I fell down and go boom this morning. Well, let me explain. Title: I'm no trapeze artist. Hi, Robert. Got to stop meeting this way, Robert. We really do. You know, the one thing that does change and where you got to be concerned, it's worth talking about, really, because it's really no joke. And then you start getting your 50s, 60s, and so on. One of the concerns, balance. I don't have the balance I used to have. Oh, hell no. Kind of goes along with the territory. I got up and, I don't walk around the house in my underwear, when there's children here. I don't do that. So, usually I get up, do my thing. So in the dark, relatively dark in the bedroom, I go to put a pair of shorts on, walking shorts, and not being able to see, which side of the short my leg was going in. It was the opposite side, and then I went to fall over as a result of that, and it made a boom sound. No, I didn't hurt myself. I was had my hand out, and it was no big thing. But right away, but Gilda just, man, whether she's half asleep or not, she hears a sound like that. She's like, pew, out of bed to come to my assistance. That's when you know your girlfriend really loves you. It really gives a shit about you, and is really concerned. That was one tiny little example, No, I don't trip a lot of things like that, but I had a couple of incidents. But, the one thing I noticed, though, definitely, that's why, let me tell you something. I am really careful. Yeah. I am really very careful when I'm going downstairs, everything else. Because let me tell you something. When you hit your 60s or so, you just don't have that balance. Well, I've got decent balance, but not like I used to. But the one thing that you want to avoid is a fall. So you go downstairs or something like that, you calculate. Oh, trust me, you calculate what you're doing. Yeah. Because the one thing, and I talk about shit like this all the time as you start getting a lot older, the one thing, right, Popeye? You should know. The one thing you really gotta watch out for is a fall. Because as you get older, you don't heal or can take the trauma of a fall as well as you did when you were younger. You better face that reality. That's reality. That's reality. Because if you ever, the one fear, and believe it or not, you could die within a year. If you fractured if you got a fracture, of your chest, and if you got a fracture of some sort, that you ain't going to be able to walk. Think about that. And you're going to be down for a long time. Okay, what does it have to do with dying in a year? Well, let me explain that to you. This is no joke, actually. Because if you're not active and you can't walk, your cardio, your blood flow, what you need. You're not moving your blood, you can get blood clots, all kinds of shit like that. That's why it's known. This is true shit. This is true shit. Where you have to be immobile. People die sometimes within 12 months because they have to sit and lay there all the time, Now, the amazing thing is my girlfriend's mom, she's over 88, and she has been bedridden it's been over 3 years now, and she stays over my girlfriend's sister's house in Cebu. And even her neck muscles have become so weak that she can't sit up in a wheelchair if you decided to. I mean, I can just imagine being bedridden for over 3 years. 3 years. That's devastating. Your cardio, I mean, you couldn't even exert yourself if you could walk. And to try to put somebody in a wheelchair, she can't even hold her head up. It's very sad. I don't know how she does it. I'll be honest with you. She's a lovely woman. Always puts her hand out to me when I come over there. I always hold her hand. I do that automatically. I always greet her and I hold her hand. And she's this really great woman. But unfortunately for her, she had a stroke, and that's why she's down like that. But it's been over 3 years. And she gets spoiled, though. She wants her daughter to scratch her back, rub her back, What a tough old bird. I am telling you. She's a tough old bird. But yeah, one of the things, I mean, it's worth talking about. And I think a lot of you all that are over 60 especially, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Unless you've been that athletic all your life and stretched out and you stretch your muscles and the one thing that you kind of lose is your complete balance. I mean, it wouldn't take terribly much for you to get off balanced in a certain situation, Now, the only time I've ever really tripped, because maybe I was outside with a pair of slippers, and the rubber edge of it folded over for a second the way I walked, and then I went down. And the only other time was in the house when, what the hell was going on with that? I got dizzy. Oh, I know why. I got dizzy because I had changed a medicine or something that I normally take. I went to reduce it when I should have stayed. And believe me, that it has an effect. And I became like really dizzy. By the time I made it to the bedroom door, I go plunk onto the floor. Plunk. But it wasn't from being so off balanced. It was a circumstantial situation. But either way, the thing is, sometimes we go to DIY and have these steep stairs downtown here, in Santa Fe. And DIY, which is a do-it-yourself store. I'm telling you, going up, I'm not worried. Going down, especially if it's been raining, I am purposely so calculating when I go downstairs, but especially if it's been wet stairs. Why? Because you have to. You have to. The one thing, I am not shitting. And if anybody's out there, you could even be in your 50s. It doesn't matter what age. Nobody wants to fall. But I think when you're above your 60s, especially, I think you have to be really, really, really careful. Because, you miscalculate something on there or slip on a slippery step, I'm going to tell you, man, that ain't going to be no joyride for you. And, you know, your bones ain't what they used to be. Them bones, them bones, them bones, them bones, them bones. They're not what they used to be, right, Popeye? Popeye understands. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, good morning. We had a good Thanksgiving dinner. All's well at the Ponderosa. All's well. Pardon me. Oh. You know, once I'm up, I'm up. It's 5 in the morning. This is around my regular time that I wake up. Here's the thing. I could go back to bed and rest it off or just try to fall asleep again. But what happens is you get up, you know, the first thing you normally do, folks, is go and take a piss. You take care of business and then you decide to stay up and go back to bed. And by that time, she's already up if I'm up. So she's already doing some things on her phone. And then I'm grabbing mine. The house is quiet because everybody's asleep here. Hey, Jerry, what's going on, man? Now, I started off talking about how your balance goes off a bit as you get older. This morning I went to, because I got kids here, you know, and I don't walk around the house with underwear on. I got to put a pair of walking shorts on, you know. So much for me being a fucking pedophile, right? Yeah, I don't walk around in my underwear around here. Around the boys, I could do that, you know, when it's just the boys here. But, you know, when you got a little girl here, she could be up or something, or the mom's here or something like that. Yeah, so much for me being a child molester, according to Barry. I'm very respectful of children around me. I'm very respectful of everybody, actually, around here. So I go to put a pair of walking shorts on. It's dark, and I don't know, my leg is going into which side of the day. In fact, I'm wearing it right now, and it's actually backwards. It don't matter, just I have a pair of shorts on. No, I don't like getting up early, Jerry. No, it's just when I get up, you know. You know. Well, it gives you more life. You know, the earlier you get up, the more life you have. You know what I mean? Maybe instinctively, as we get older, we get up early because, well, you know, we're getting a lot older, man. It's more life, you know. Maybe, who knows? Yeah, some people like to get up early. Well, what does that say? Early to bed, early to rise makes a man wealthy, something and wise, or something like that, you know. Where did he got that expression from? I really don't know. No idea. Just like one of the expressions, you know, when people react to somebody that sneezes and they say, God bless you. A lot of people don't understand where that expression came from. Well, I'll be the one to tell you that. And there's a lot of things we do that comes from hundreds of years ago. Okay, so the story why people, certainly in America they do, well, you might hear that all over, but I know they do that in America. When you sneeze and somebody says, God bless you, you're thinking like, you know, if you didn't know better, it's like, why do they say God bless you? Because you sneezed. Well, this goes all the way back to when there was the Black Plague and shit like that. Because during that time when there was a plague, if somebody sneezed, somebody would say, God bless you, meaning that, oh shit, that person is infected with the plague or some shit like that. And they'll say, God bless you. I'm not kidding, that's actually where the expression came from, when you sneeze. I didn't make this shit up, you know. You want to get educated, listen to my channel, no matter what Robert says or anybody. But the fact is, that's where that comes. There's a lot of, I should look it up really. There's a lot of things we say and do that date back. And let me give you an example. How about that song you heard when you were a kid? Ring around a rosy, pocket full of posy, something, something, we all fall down. That also was coming from the days when they had plagues, and there was a reason. And then there was the other song, Rockabye Baby. And I don't know all the damn words to this. They all fall down or something like that. All these things, all these things were created. It was during a dark period of time. The dark period of time when there was, a lot of disease or plague going on, the Black Plague, all kinds of shit like that. All these things came out of that. Little folk songs. You hear a lot of folk songs, like a few things that I just presented to you. It all came from that. I don't make this shit up. Sometimes you think I make shit up, but I really don't. But yeah, the one thing I did notice, and nobody over 60 can deny, that I'll guarantee you that you are a lot more careful where you're walking, how you're walking, what you're walking on. It doesn't take much to ruin your day. Well, the trolls here, Hedera. Frank, you were so kind to pay foods for the kids. Oh, what? I'm going to charge the kids? My name is Frank, not Barry. Oh, please, I don't want to mention him. This show is not about him. So pardon me on that. That was a slip. But Hedera, you're a fan of the other guy. What the hell are you doing on my show? I know you meant it as a derogatory comment. I'm sure of that. But that's okay. It's a new day, Hedera. She says, he said, you know what I mean. In America, the papa must pay for his own kids. Well, I regard them as my family. Well, I'm Uncle Frank, anyway, but her granddaughter is so sweet. All the kids, actually, they're so well-mannered, and contrary to what some trolls say, they are very attentive to me. Oh, okay, let me, maybe it's a little bit too early to have tea. Yeah, I'm not worried about breakfast till later. I don't eat this early in the morning. I don't like the idea. We have a mango cake. All right, I cheated, for Thanksgiving dinner. Real whipped cream in this cake, not some artificial shit. I had a couple of slices of my girlfriend's cake. Well, I meant to have just one piece because I swore I wasn't going to eat any of that cake. But it was too good to resist. Mango cream cake, I mean, oh my God, seriously. Man, don't live on bread alone. Now what they say, they don't even want you to eat bread. People over the world have been eating bread all their fucking life, and everybody's making a big thing about the carbohydrates turning to sugar and all that stuff. Well, if you have a sugar problem, then I understand that, But if you don't, they throw a little bit of caution to the wind sometimes. I mean, you want to enjoy your life, but you don't want to make total restrictions on everything. I always tell them, don't bring donuts when you come back from Cebu. Don't always bring in donuts here. Don't bring donuts. I already had one of them, you know. But actually, I do alternative snacks. I'll cut some carrots up, or have apples, or things like that. Or just out of the blue, I'll defrost of blueberries. Please don't get me going on this thing about the blueberries. Please don't. Nobody understands how healthy blueberries are. And broccoli. I ate a hell of a lot of broccoli. But good morning to everybody. Oh man, I gotta shut the switch off on that pump, water pump. Not the one to the well, but this is the one that's the high pressure pump that gives us more pressure in the house. It's fucked up, so it's always recycling, whether you're using the water or not. And that's why my bill gets high. And I gotta shut the switch off on that. If we're gonna be taking showers, you see, here's the thing. If you guys got a hot water heater in your, you're living out here, you know, and you have a hot water heater in your shower, it takes a certain amount of pressure. A lot of people don't know this. They might install a hot water heater in their shower, and then they're saying, well, what the hell is going on? I don't got any hot water. You gotta have a certain amount of pressure for that switching system in there to turn on for the hot water. If you don't have, and you could ruin the unit, by the way, if you don't have enough pressure in there, you could burn the unit out. You got to get that water flow. It's happened to us. So, you know, if it's a period of time, well, okay, there's only one hot water heater in the house. It's the CR in my room. And actually, we got one for the sink and the kitchen, but we don't even use it no more. That was a waste of money because it makes it hot, but not really that hot. But it's the same. It's the same thing though. If you don't have your high pressure your water pump on, you're gonna burn out the unit. You're gonna burn it out. You got to have a certain amount of PSI pressure going through the system. I totally turned off the one under the sink. We don't use it. And it just raises the electric bill anyway. But, shit, I don't know. I should take that puppy out and use it in the other room. Now, but the kids, they don't mind. They don't mind cold water showers. And actually, cold water showers are the healthiest thing for you, actually. But, no, I don't like cold water. Now, you know, I lived in Hawaii, and you would think that the water there in the ocean is like, you know, really warm, because it's not like the Philippines. The water here in the Philippines, you could just walk into it. Seriously. Hawaii, however, that was different. The waters around there were kind of chilly, actually. Well, I mean, in comparison to the Philippines. And what do you say now, Hitter? It seems that Kanos have flipped it around in the Philippines and pays for the Pinoy's kids, to each his own. Pays what? I don't know what you mean. What are they paying for the Pinoy kids? I mean, if you have respect for the family, why are you going to charge them for a meal? What are you saying? There's nothing I wouldn't do for these kids. They do wonderful things for us here, you know. They're very, you know, our older kids are very supportive. They're very intelligent. They're very respectful. Couldn't have a better family, really. Respect goes a long way, let me tell you. I don't think Koreans or Chinese put up with that. Well, I don't know what you mean by paying for your Pinoy's kids. I don't understand what you mean about that. I only have two of my girlfriend's children that live here. Of course I'm going to pay for whatever for them. Clothing, food, medicine, right? Now, since you're like a fan of Barry's, I know you meant it as a derogatory statement. I don't support my girlfriend's whole family, just two kids that live here. That's it. However, they contribute to that. Of course. It's the way it is, the way it should be. I'm no fucking louse. I know you meant it as being derogatory. I'm sure you did. Does the Pinoy give what child support? Nah, I think you're just trolling. I'm going to have to do a Barry thing here because I know you're a Barry fan. Because I think your comments are just a little bit negative. It's too early in the morning to get into this kind of shit. Of course, I'm going to support my girlfriend's kids. They live here. It's what you do. They don't have a job. What, I'm not going to feed them? Because they're not my blood children? Get real, man. Kind of a sick way of thinking. Whatever they need, I provide. That's the way it is. It's a family. Blood or not, they're family. Bottom line. Do I care for them? Of course I do. Nobody asked a question, but I'm just telling you that. Somebody lives in your house, and their children, you take care of them. They're part of the family. It's my girlfriend's children, biological children. I'm kind of like a surrogate father. That's just the way it works. As far as her other children, they don't live here, but they visit. And they're certainly welcome to come here anytime they want. And they're very respectful of me, despite people saying, oh, the kids don't even talk to you or some crap like that. Or they're talking their language around the living room table. Well, number one, duh, they're Filipino. They have the right to talk their language. And of course, if I direct a question to them, they're going to talk in English. But they talk amongst each other. That's normal. English is a second language here, not the first language. They have the right to speak their language when they want. Because I've heard a few comments about things like that. So straighten that shit out right away. They have the right to talk their language. Period. Of course, when I talk to them, they're going to talk English. But around the table, when they're conversing with each other, and I'm not involved in a conversation, I'm just sitting there eating or whatever, they can talk Visayan, whatever, all they want till the cows come home. I don't really mind it. But there are situations, the only thing I've ever mentioned is when I'd go to some event, somebody's wedding party or reception or something, and you're sitting at a table, there's a lot of people around. Of course, they're all speaking, Visayan. And I don't understand what the hell they're saying. But they have their right. It's their language. However, anything directed to me is in English. And if I speak to them, they're going to speak to me in English. They're not avoiding me. Every right to speak their own language. Well, we're going to take the language away from them because I'm English speaking. Well, they speak both. I wish I could speak another language fluently. I just can't. My girlfriend don't have the best, you know, she does the best she could. I understand everything she says. I mean, she's not perfect English. Then again, sometimes I don't understand her because, you know, she don't talk as loud as me. And I got one ear that's pretty messed up. And a lot of times they'll say, huh? Or what? I do that a lot. If you ever heard me on my videos when I'm talking to somebody, she may say something. I may ask her to, in some way to repeat herself, or I'll just say, huh? Huh? That's normal. No, being without the best hearing in the world, well, one ear, I have one great ear, and the other one is like, what? Shit, man, I probably have a 65% loss on my right. I could hear from my right ear, but very muted, really. Mute him! And that can be uncomfortable at times. And nobody understands unless they have somewhat loss of hearing. How difficult, because if you go into as far as a frequency of sound, I'll give you an example. You go into I don't know, you go into a mall or somewhere crowded, and there's a lot of background noise going on. The only way I can make you understand it, let me give you a good example here. Okay, you're at a table and everybody's chattering around, everybody's talking, there's background music. Let's say you're in a mall, you're gonna have something to eat, and at a kiosk or somewhere, you know, there's so much background noise, there's even some music going on. And the way your brain is interpreting this when you have a hearing problem is that it's all one big mush. A lot of times it's like that. And you're at the table and everybody's chatting, you know, and it's really the background noise that does it. It just kind of intermixes and it becomes not very audible or understandable, you know, having to do with the high and low frequencies of sound. You know, when the sound hits your tympanic membrane, you know, which is your eardrum, and it's not bouncing off it right, you know, you have some hearing problems. It's very disturbing. And my girlfriend, she doesn't speak like really loud. And if I'm laying in bed and she's doing something, has her head turned toward the wall that way, away from me, because she's turned over, she's on her phone or something in a comfortable position for her, and she says something, and, you know, bad enough to consider it, she's got a very heavy accent. Then if she's speaking low, I'll tell her, could you turn toward me? And this happens all the time. Because a lot of times I don't understand her, not because she has a deep accent, but because if she's not on the direction of my normal ear, and she's talking really low, and then on top of that, she has a heavy accent, it's really hard to totally understand. Now, unless you have somewhat of a hearing loss, you probably wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. Now, I tend to speak a little louder than normal because of the fact that if you have some kind of a hearing loss, you don't hear perfectly, you know, what your volume is. Did you ever hear of a totally deaf person trying to talk? And you can talk if you're deaf, but you know what you're trying to say, but a deaf person is really a bad deafness problem. You'll hear them talking loud because they can't hear themselves talk. They can't control the volume of their voice. And of course, you know, a lot of people have made fun of deaf people not knowing they're deaf, thinking maybe they have some kind of Down syndrome or something. Because when a totally deaf person tries to actually vocalize, you would think it's coming from somebody that had Down syndrome or something like that, because the way they talk, it sounds really weird. because they can't hear themselves talking. They can't control the volume and enunciate, pronunciate, whatever, what's coming out of their mouth. That's normal for a person that's not hearing hardly at all or not at all when they try to talk. You can't hear. That's how you learn to put your words out there. You're listening to what you're saying. And you can control the tone of your voice. You could talk higher, lower. You have control if you're a good hearing person. But somebody who's actually deaf, they don't have that control, obviously. No, it's no fun, really. I encounter this every single day. Really. She may say something to me from down the hallway, and I'll say, huh? Always saying, huh? Or some people say, yo, yo. Some people naturally lose their hearing as they get older. The one thing I'm hoping is that my good ear doesn't go on me. That might be a problem. But if I'm my age now and I still got a perfectly good one ear and I can still hear, I can hear on my right ear. It's just that it's more muffled. It's very demure. And I've had operations on it to try to correct that. They had to replace the bones in there because they were damaged from an infection when I was a kid. If I never had that infection, I would have never had a hearing loss. And no, Popeye, I didn't avoid the draft, you moron. I had bad hearing. They wouldn't have took me into Vietnam in any fashion or way. What did Popeye call me? A draft dodger. Could you substantiate that, Robert? I mean, seriously, could you substantiate that? No, the military is not going to take you in if you got some hearing loss. Or maybe if you have flat feet or something like that. There's a lot of different things. There was a time that they never even took gay people in the military. Or the gay people had to hide the fact that they were gay. But these days, you know, everything being correctamundo, your sexual preference is apparently not an issue in the military these days. Unless you know something that I don't know. But I know there was a time that they would not accept somebody who was gay in the military. I don't know, they accepted Popeye. Maybe that was an exception. Or maybe he hid it. I don't know. Oh, Robert. I suppose I should make tea to wake up or something. I don't know. It's starting to get light here. I don't usually have my tea. It's still dawn, really. Oh, I could wait a little bit, I guess, on here, you know. Oh, God, the bad thing is we got cake left over here. Yeah. There's probably a chance I might have that with my tea later. It's more probable than not. You know, here it is. We buy apples and nobody's eating them. We have to start to eat these apples. 1, 2, 3. I see 3 apples in here. Maybe another one that nobody's eaten. I think sometimes the kids see this and they think, well, no, it might be Uncle Frank's or Mom's or something, you know, and they don't eat it. I always tell them, look, if we got it and it's there, eat it. Because there's things I buy that are not just particularly for me, it's for anyone, really. Oh, we got 13. You know, I always get 13 as the number on here. I think there are 13 regulars that always come here. They don't always talk, but I always notice that number 13 on here. when things settle down and people know I got a show on, I'll always guarantee of having 13 people in here. It levels off at 13 people. It gets higher later on as people kind of transients come in, but there's always 13 people almost guaranteed that's in here. Those are the regular or trolls that listen to me. 13, that's the magic number. You girls gotta go out. Come on, go out, go pee. There you go. Make sure these lights are all off here. You girls gotta go. Ah, glorious morning here. Glorious morning. Jerry, you get up early. What do you do when you get up early? Like I said, every morning you can get up is a glorious morning. You can stand on your 2 feet. You can breathe. A lot of people take that for granted. A couple of wild dogs running around the field out there. I see them. Couple of goats out. Where's the cows? I don't know where they put the cows. They're out there all day. What you smelling, Ginger? What you smelling? Well, not many people talking here. I got 16 here and 6 thumbs up. Or is that 5? 6, my eyes. But actually, I started off talking about how you got to be careful navigating downstairs. This goes to any age, really. Nobody could afford a fall. Nobody. But as you age, your bone's going to be a little more brittle. Pelvis, whatever. Your hips. One thing you just cannot afford to do is to trip and fall. To a teenager, it's not a big thing, according to how you fall, though. Even a teenager can get hurt. But as you get older, you make a fall or down the steps or something, that's some critical shit. Because you can't heal. I remember when I've had my share of falls in my life, and I bought this Nissan truck back in Hawaii. Just got it home, and I wanted to clean out the bed of the truck in there. It was all dirty. So I kind of threw some water in there with soap, slippery soap. So I put the gate down and hopped up with the hose in my hand. And it was very slippery. Within 2 seconds, I went down on the wheel hub, and my right shoulder arm there directly hit against that wheel hub. I got this major contusion. I remember getting off the truck, I felt dizzy, like my adrenaline went crazy. I thought maybe for a moment I was going to pass out from the shock. And I remember going to see an orthopedic surgeon guy. And they were going to give me this needle, I don't know, it was cortisone or it was a saline or something. But they did not use a fluoroscope. Now, let me give you a little bit of advice. If you have to get like a cortisone shot for pain or something like that, you make sure they're using a fluoroscope to guide the needle to the muscle or whatever area that is the problematic area. Because if they don't, it's not going to help. The cortisone treatment's not going to help. And it was so painful. I've had I could state certain moments in my life I had the worst pain. When they went to put this long needle into my shoulder area, and that was excruciating. I nearly just screamed my lungs out. It didn't do much for me. But then the doctor would say, a lot of doctors, if you have, I don't know, you had a slip or a fall, you damage your bone, they're going to tell you if you smoke. One guy said, well, I can't give you no treatments unless you stop smoking. Now, the reason he says that is because the amount of oxygen in your blood to help with healing, and they figure that if you smoke, then you're going to heal a lot slower or not very well at all. That's why an orthopedic guy or surgeon would tell you that, if you ever heard that before. This guy almost didn't want to treat me because of the fact, well, if you're going to continue smoking, then I can't help you. And there's a lot of truth to that. You know, your oxygen level in your blood helps you heal. But let me tell you, when I took that fall, I thought I was going to black out. I went to stand up on the side of the truck, and boy, I felt kind of dizzy. I could feel my adrenaline flowing like fucking crazy. I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said to my brother, I said, oh, I think I really got hurt, Al. And boy, I did. It was bruised, but it was down to the bone. I had a contusion and something else, I remember. To this day, your body has a memory. To this day. Sometimes, you ever hear the stories about when the weather is real damp or something like that, your joints might ache? Well, there's truth to that, actually. Different weather pattern comes in. I'm amazing I don't have too many problems with my right foot, because when I was 7 years old, I got hit by a car. It wasn't going real fast or nothing, but I fractured the bones of my right foot. And that was stinging. That was hurting. But I'm kind of surprised. I guess that has affected. I think that does have to do with my balance, because actually my right leg is where I put most of my weight on, I noticed. And it's my right foot, now that I think about it, that has actually acted up on me, because now a lot of people get arthritic situations going on. If you break a bone or something like that, a lot of people, it winds up turning arthritic. And that's what kind of happened with my lower back. I had an injury many, many, many moons ago, back at work, and I had a couple of incidents, actually. I mean, shit just happens, but it catches up to you later on. It really does. Anytime bone has to heal, I'll practically guarantee you that as time goes by, that'll become arthritic, or you develop bone spurs or something like that. Welcome to the real world, folks. Well, there's not much dialogue here this morning. So I don't know how much longer I want to keep this going here. Early in the morning, we got 11 here with 6 thumbs up. That works for me, but no dialogue. I guess it's becoming a monologue. Oh, gosh. Sorry, Papa. I'd give you a longer show, but I don't think I'm going to do a long show here this morning. Excuse me, live stream. I have to correct myself. It's not a show. I don't have dancing clowns here and trapeze artists and dancing girls. Oh, pardon me. Pardon me. All right, so is this where it's going to be? Basically a monologue? That kind of stuff just kind of bores me. If I wanted a monologue, I'd just do an upload. Which is really not a bad idea on the uploads. I always saying that I'm going to stick to uploads, and then I get lazy. And I wind up doing a live stream because it's so much easier to just click on and go live. And with an upload, you got to wait till it loads and processes and all that shit before it gets out there. Do a live stream, it's boom, 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 you're on. More convenient. I don't mind doing uploads. I mean, the fact that I'm doing anything on here at all is amazing in itself, actually. Because I don't really get too much out of this, really. It's just conversing with other foreigners is what it is. That's all it is. You don't really want to be around foreigners all the time, but you don't mind conversing with some foreigners on a live stream. That's as far as I take it, really. It's not my goal to be necessarily hanging around foreigners. There's only a few foreigners out here that I deal with on a regular basis, and that's by my choice. Foreigners are too much trouble out here. They really are. I kind of avoid, well, the ones that live out here anyway. Tourist foreigners, they're pretty cool. Say hello to them and all that. But I don't really make it my goal to hang around foreigners. If you think they're trouble on YouTube, then, well, get involved. That's why, Dumageddon. And that's a good topic right there, Dumageddon. It just takes a special kind of foreigner to want to move to Dumageddon. And why do a lot of foreigners move to Dumageddon, as I call it? Because they're hearing all the time that Dumageddon is a place to be if you're going to be a foreigner. 3:16 a.m. Where are you? I could not live in a town that's so heavily populated by foreigners. They all go to Dumageddon because all they hear of is Dumageddon and all the foreigners living there, and they must be finding the chicks over there. So what happens is, everyone from Poland, the Philippines, to all these people, all moving to Dumageddon. Well, the real name is Dumageddon, but it's a nickname for that. You're a dumbass to move there. You move to a foreign country, why the fuck do you want to go hang around a bunch of fucking foreigners? Did you not get out of your country to experience another culture? No, I'm not saying, you can't be friendly to foreigners and you can't make friends out here if that's what you want. I just think foreigners are just a lot of fucking trouble. So I avoid them, not like the plague, but I'm a friendly guy. I talk to everybody. I'll pick and choose who I want to be friendly with, though. But I kind of enjoy the status quo of where I stand. I don't mind saying hello, goodbye to foreigners. I have a really good neighbor I do talk to all the time. He's from Australia. And actually, they're friends. I'm friends with him and his wife. It's kind of a pick and choose situation. But I don't make a pest of myself and go over there all the time. I keep it at a very comfortable level. And I come over there, he welcomes me in, and we sit down and we bullshit, and that's all good. It's not plugged in here. Hold on, guys. I get social with foreigners when I'm in a mood to do so. But it's very easy with my neighbor though, because I happen to like the guy. Him, his wife, and his daughter, they're good people, and he always does me a favor when I put the garbage outside. Well, I have got the trike now, we don't need him to do it. Always takes our garbage. If we got extra birthday cake or something like that, or extra, we bring it over there, and sometimes they do it for us. I like that. It's a nice balance. I'm not out of his house talking to him every day. Only time I really see him when he's driving by or if he's sitting in front of his house or I decide to go over there and talk to him. It's comfortable that way. He likes it that way. I like it that way. I'm just kind of stubborn in my ways. You know, what makes me comfortable. Problem is, like, when you get involved with the politics of the foreigners, that's one thing you should avoid. Like, there's a lot of people that move to Dumageddon. All it is chismis among the foreigners. That's what it is. You have a popular, like Paul in the Philippines, you know, you have a popular show, and everybody knows you. I don't want everybody to know me, really, on an outside level off YouTube. It's not my gig. I don't want to be walking in, oh, there's Paul, hey, Paul, hey. You know, I don't want to be recognized that much. It's not my comfort zone. Not that I got something to hide, there's nothing to do with that. It just has to do with my comfort level. Then there's a lot of people that maybe you had a beef with or something. Maybe they're also, a lot of them are all YouTubers. A lot of them are Dumageddon. And maybe for some reason, you're in competition with the other guy. And that happens. And they're going to say some crap about you, and it gets around, but you got to live in that town. And you got to hear all the back and forth. I don't, that's why I don't involve myself with that kind of shit. And you couldn't pay me to live in Dumageddon. Stay back in the States or wherever you came from if you want to live in Dumageddon. You might as well just say, why don't you just live in I'll tell you what a lot of people used to do in Hawaii, a lot of rich people who live in these private gated communities. Because they were afraid of the local Hawaiians. What the fuck you come out for? If you can't mesh with the culture, don't come out to Hawaii. You have to. You gotta walk in the neighborhoods that they live in to understand what the local attitude and gratitude is. You know, I mean, it's, or lack of. You gotta understand the local politics and cultures. You gotta become kind of like, shall I call it, streetwise. You gotta know the lingo. If you're gonna live out there. I remember an incident, I was in the parking lot of a beach over in Hawaii on the west side of the island, well, Kona. And I could see that these foreigners, they're obviously tourists, when some, well, I don't know, they were mixed Hawaiian, but they were very local. One of them had a club foot, a big old club foot. And I don't know what this lady was thinking, but as they started to go toward the car to pass by, right away, the lady was rolling up her window as if she's seen these Hawaiians or whatever as some kind of a threat. Yeah, I've witnessed stuff like that. And they'll move in these big gated communities, real guards and all that stuff. They do it out here too. If you don't want to mesh with the locals, man, you shouldn't even move here, or if you're in Hawaii, same thing. I've seen it both places here. If you think you're going to live in fear because you think the locals are very dangerous, then you shouldn't be out here at all. I don't see any reason why you should be out here. I really don't. Man, I'm like getting out of tea here. And I have to buy some tea. I ran out of good tea. What is the deal with this tea here? Ah, shit. Now I gotta have my green tea. And what I have is this Thai tea mix here. And I got this other one, which is also a Thai tea mix. One of them is very red in color. What did I have yesterday? Well, I have no choice but to have one of these. That's what I gotta do today. I'm gonna buy some green tea. It's a ritual of mine every single morning. Every single morning. I don't drink coffee, so I drink tea. And I've been doing that for more years than I could count. That's good because it has a lot of good shit, antioxidants of different types, polyphenols, whatever. Just a ritual. People have coffee in the morning. I choose that tea. What's really interesting out here, if you've been living out here long enough, you'll notice that a lot of people have bread with their coffee out here. They might dunk their bread in the coffee. And my girlfriend does it all the time. In fact, her kids even do that. Sometimes they'll get up and they'll eat bread. They'll make some kind of I don't know if they have like a cocoa mix or something. Good morning. Boy, it ain't too busy out here this morning. Well, I guess it's a monologue. Yeah, this is the ritual. Now look how red this tea is. Look at this. Like blood red. Check that out. Anyway, that's my ritual anyway. Now, I'm not going to tell you the brand of toilet paper I use. But this is my ritual in the morning. I'll get up, I'll take a piss. I'll make some tea. Look at that. Don't have any honey left. Sometimes I put a little dab of honey in here. Normally I put some turmeric in here. But I want to get some fresh turmeric. I'm not sure how healthy it is. If the moisture got to it and not exactly safe to take. I would normally always put turmeric in here with black pepper. And you probably say, why do you want to put black pepper in the turmeric? Well, because the black pepper actually synergizes the efficiency, of the turmeric. I don't know how they figured that out, but they did. I don't know. But turmeric is a natural anti-inflammatory. The best I can tell you about it. It does other things too, but I normally do that. But you can't overdo turmeric, though. You can't overdo that. See, I got the same 13 people in here. They're my regular people. Always that number 13 as a midline number on here. I've noticed that. One of them, of course, is Popeye, of course. One of them, I probably figure who it is, too. But I'm not sure what they're expecting to hear, but I'm that important that they got to do a simulcast on me. And one of the reasons I don't always keep my shows on is because if I need to make reference to something, I just go the Copycat channel and go to Popeye. He's my record keeper. If I want to review my own show, I just go. Popeye doesn't realize he's doing me a service actually here. But his idea was to try to catch me in something I'd say that he could, oh, did you hear what he said on that? Well, I got the recording of it. That's pretty pathetic, Robert. I gotta tell you that. Pretty pathetic. Pretty pathetic. And plus, I'm not monetized. I don't give a shit or anything about AdSense or anything like that. If there's something I want to leave on, I'll leave it on. But I don't necessarily have to do that because I got people that do the recording for me. Hola, my brother. Oh, Snicko. It's Snicko. Okay. What's up, Snicko? Just facing my morning here. Talking to my audience and preparing a cup of tea. Now, I started off talking about, which I think is really worthwhile talking about because I gotta tell you, it's truthful. As you get older, dudes, one thing you don't want to do is to take a fall and, breaking a hip or something because that is one of the worst things that could happen to you because you can't heal very quick and you could be chair or bedridden for a long time. And as a result of that, some people don't survive. They get heart attacks. And why do they get heart attacks? What does that have to do with their hips? It has a lot to do. If you're immobile for a long period of time and you're not kind of circulating your blood, you can get a stroke or something. That's why, if you ever go on the internet, ever listen to some of these shows or talking about different things, you will hear this left and right. Be careful. Do everything you can to avoid taking a fall because a lot of people believe within 12 months you'll be dead. Hanging out in Puerto Rico. Snicko? Suspicious. Speaking of Nico, do you know what? I can't even go to Nico's Experience channel. The guy is so boring. I don't even know why he even puts her ass or trying to prove to the world that he's such a wonderful family man. Trying to project it all the time. I don't know why. Maybe it's makeup of lost time because, in his older years, he kind of got into some shit that wasn't really good. You know what I mean? And he wasn't in his family's life. And maybe he's trying to make up for it now. There's nothing wrong with being... Sorry about that. If you got that situation, there's nothing wrong with being around family. But the guy boasts about it all the time, but he does that purposely. Because he figures, Frank is really not in touch with his daughter. What a horrible father he is. It has nothing to do with me, pal. I'll guarantee tell you that. It has nothing to do with me. Blood or no blood. Issues and tissues, man. If you got issues and tissues, it could be blood or non-blood or whatever. It's all the same. Either you see eye to eye on something or you don't. That's the way it is. A lot of family members go through that. They do it with uncles, aunts, they do it with parents, they do it with their siblings. It's not all one happy family unit all the time. There's some people that maybe never spoke to their parents in 20 freaking years. Or their brother or sister or some other family member. They call it a family unit, but they're not always unified. Some families just don't get along. And whether they're blood related or not blood related, it could be a friend, peers. Don't matter, it's all the same. Who cares if he's coming back? I don't think I'm blocked on his channel. But I don't even go there anymore because, time clock's running out. You know what I'm saying, guys? You want to go to somewhere that it's worth listening. You want to listen to somebody's channel. You go there to somebody who's talking with his audience not particularly at his audience, you know. And this guy's so infatuated with his grass. Well, that's what you do when you don't have any topic matter. Or you could just, you know, call somebody a pedophile every single day of your show. You can do that too. That's never been done, huh, on here, on a daily basis. Make up social media. His channel boring. No one cares about his lawn maintenance. I sure don't. I used to do lawn maintenance myself. I used to do a lot of things with the Parks Department, but I'm not going to make a topic of it every fucking day. Or try to boast about, the family unit. I'm close to my family. I know some people that aren't. It's throwing digs at me all the time is what he does. You know, somebody that likes you, they don't. You like them or you don't, whatever. It's a choice you make. You know, you're not going to stop your life from going on because somebody... Hello, good morning. How's your tooth today? Is it better?
Yeah.
You feeling better?
Yeah.
Okay, you let us know if you have any pain, and we'll give you medicine, okay? As long as you're feeling better. What are you going to have to eat this morning?
Yeah.
You have any more cereal?
No.
Is there something that you'd like to eat? Don't think about cake. That's not a breakfast, okay?
Okay.
All right, yeah, you don't want cake. You can have some later, though. You're welcome to have some cake later, but that's not a breakfast. Well, you're smiling. You must be feeling good. Okay. Good to hear. Oh, good morning, dear. Yeah. Oh, she'll have her Cocoa Crunch, whatever. Her other kids used to eat that all the time when they grew out of this Cocoa Crunch. I mean, well, first of all, out here in the provinces, they don't offer you a big variety of cereals out here. There's not much. Oh, you're defrosting the lasagna for later or something?
No, I want to cut.
Oh, you want to be able to cut it into individual pieces. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, I got you. That's still pretty solid frozen. We want to get a bigger refrigerator. Look at all these stickers. I wonder who's been there. Osaka. Look at all this. Korea. Japan. Verona. Who's the traveler? Who's the traveler? Yeah, we got these magnets on here. Seoul, Korea. Could have I been to any of these places? Yeah. Why are they on my refrigerator?
The land.
Okay, there you go. You got your Cocoa Crunch now. Yeah, she's such a sweetheart. She really is. Very social kid. Shows a lot of respect to me, but then again, all her kids do. Every single one of them. Yeah, I can't listen to that channel. There's nothing on there. Actually, you know what? I'm finding it really hard these days. I have on my list certain channels that I listen to, but I'm just hearing the same things over and over again. I'm tired of listening to Philippine antics. They're kind of a novelty couple on here. But then they started getting big into the Elliot Eastman thing. And they just came out with all their little prophecies about they were saying he's alive, but yet nobody knows he's alive, you know. It is a strange situation, I must admit. Chances are that he's not alive, or maybe he's in such fear that maybe he's actually still in the Philippines and he had to secretly get away from the family. Nobody was considering that. I mean, I'm the only one that possibly was considering that particular situation. I haven't heard anybody mention that. Maybe he knew it was dangerous around here and he couldn't even tell his girlfriend or wife, whatever she is. Maybe he couldn't do that. Maybe he chose to go into hiding. But then again, if he had to leave the country, well, they're going to know that it's him, and he probably would be stopped and have an investigation. We thought you were dead, or you got kidnapped, or whatever it might have been. But there is that distinct possibility that he just doesn't want to be found. And I'm the only one that's ever even mentioned that. I've heard a lot of shows where they talk about Elliot Eastman. If you don't familiar, he's a foreigner that decided to live in a dangerous part of Mindanao, southern, and disappeared, and a lot of speculation was going on. They were speculating this and speculating that he's still alive, or officials were saying that they know where he is. Or if they know where he is, then why didn't they go get him? I'm sure the government has more firepower than, than any kind of radicals or something, insurgents or whatever the hell they are, that supposedly are holding Elliot. Then, Philippines Antics and a lot of channels like that, they'll come on and they're talking about Elliot, coming up with their own theories and all that. The fact is, nobody knows. And if he was alive, and if the police actually, like they were claiming, or even a news station was claiming that they have him under observation, well, why, if that was the case, why didn't they just go in and get him? I'll guarantee that the police department has a lot more firepower than whoever is holding Elliot Eastman, if he indeed is being held. Now, they arrested like 3 people. All right, then why are they arrested? You gotta do something to be arrested, right? You would think. So they're arrested for what? And that they supposedly admitted something to be having to do with this kidnapping or whatever. So what are they being held for? And why hasn't anybody come forward, especially if these people know what's going on? Why ain't they telling where Elliot is? Then you hear that, oh yeah, they know where he is and they're doing observation. Observation? Give me a break. Observation. If they knew where he was, they'd go in there in force and they'd retrieve Elliot. So there's 2 distinct possibilities, that Elliot is dead, or Elliot is purposely in hiding. It's either one. Come on, they got at least 3 people, or supposedly I heard all this nonsense about a couple of insurgents, whatever they were, got shot and killed in the process. I mean, why is this such a mystery, as I want to know? Why is this Elliot Eastman thing such a mystery? Or why are they making it? If officials know where he is, why haven't they retrieved him? So this doesn't make any sense to me at all. But, it's good topic matter for somebody that can't think of what to talk about on this show. So Philippine Antics is pretty well known for that. And some other channels too. Then we got this one guy, and I can't think of the name of his channel. And this guy decided he'd get involved with the politics of YouTube. He doesn't like Ricky, and he doesn't like, who's the other guy? Oh, Andy Omar. We're not talking about Tim K. We're talking about some guy, and I can't think of the name of his channel. And he only has about 800 subscribers or something on there. But he finds it upon himself to want to talk about all the chatter and get himself involved with all the nonsense that goes on YouTube. And again, it's the same formula, create controversy and drama. It gets people to come to your show. Really, that's how you want to get your viewers, is create drama? And I realize that's very common on here. There's different elements of having a popular show on YouTube. One, introduce your girlfriend or some chick that's, maybe they think is good looking, and maybe you don't, but get them on there scantily dressed. That's going to attract people. Or as like, Paul had introduced another new guy that moved to Dumageddon. They're all moving to Dumageddon, okay? So this new guy seems like a nice chap, but, he goes on the coattail, these people go on the coattails of somebody else who put together a so-called successful channel. How do you think Paul did it, And some other people. They met up with some people like Tim Kaine, met up with, what's his name? The guy that was going around places and helping people out, giving them money, and, I forgot his name. Paul appeared on his show, that's how he got popular. Then by putting guests on your show, people kind of like that too. They want to get a perspective of other foreigners that live out here and get some kind of perspective of, how they feel. Because there's a lot of people that are thinking about moving out here. So they do find it interesting to hear other people's perspective on, how their life has been since they moved out here, the challenges that they've had and so forth, which is okay, But this is kind of a common practice on there. Or they use baiting techniques, which is very popular in here. They bait people with a title, and they don't even really talk about what they put in the title. It's just a bait to get you to come to listen to their channel. And they do that a lot. I see on these Facebook feeds and so forth, they have a title of a channel about something. And one thing was talking about how people, their untimely demise. And they show a caption of this woman who's climbing up a building. She's kind of a rock climber, but she was climbing up a building side, and supposedly, and that's the thumbnail that they used, that this woman was going to fall to her death. But they gave a lot of stories on the show of people who came with untimely demise, but they never talked about the woman in the thumbnail that supposedly fell to her death. So they're smart. They know what to do. They get you to listen to their whole show thinking. And the only reason you were going to listen to it is maybe you were particularly interested in what was on the thumbnail and you wanted to hear more about that story. But they never showed it. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of people making money on YouTube out there. That's why they go on YouTube. It's not because, well, I'm a vlogger. Well, I guess they're both eating Cocoa Crunch. Cocoa Crunch. Who's beeping their horn? Neighbor? Someone a neighbor? Oh, okay. Blow it up your ass. The Cocoa Crunch girl and boy. Show us that beautiful smile of yours. Look at that. Look at that heavenly smile. My God.
See Alice go.
Huh?
Alice go.
She what?
Alice go. Joke.
Guys, like when, how offensive I find it. When somebody, just because they don't like you, will label you as some kind of a child molester. Now you can understand why somebody's facing a grim future. No children ever have to be afraid of me. Neither was my daughter raising her or any child I've ever been around, inclusive of my own girlfriend's biological children. Period. You can understand why I get so pissed off. If you don't like somebody, just tell me, man, I don't like you. Or don't listen to my show. But, what this one guy did on a continual basis got him into a lot of trouble. I swore I was not going to do the show about him or anything, but I'm just kind of making an example here to make you understand something. Don't label something to somebody that they're not. Because it could mean a world of hurt to you in one form or another. Take it to heart. It's something that you just don't do. And if you do that, expect the expected. I don't take to that kind of shit on here. Popeye comes right out these days because, Popeye's brave behind his computer over in Florida. He figures Frank ain't going to go travel over Florida and kick his fucking immobile ass all over the fucking road. So he feels brave, and that's how people are on here. Oh yeah, he calls me a pedophile all the time. Katasu. It's real easy to hide behind a computer and say all this shit, I'll guarantee you Popeye wouldn't say that to anybody's face. I'll guarantee it. Right, Robert? I'll guarantee he wouldn't say that. But it's real easy to call people hard names, daily basis. They feel they're all protected. Nobody's going to touch me. Somebody just might happen to be in Florida at the time that don't like your sick ass and take care of business. Shit happens sometimes. It's something probably he never thinks of, but I remember all the times when he had some adversity with somebody and they were going to be in the area and he got off YouTube for quite a while and he hid in that house that he inherited from his mom, Jean. Didn't inherit it. I didn't inherit this. I bought it with cash. Broke Frank. Well, last I checked, any money on the trees? Money ain't growing on trees. I don't see any money growing out of this Malangai. I don't see it. I see banana trees, but I don't see any money on them. You can call anybody any name in the book. Oh, you're broke. Well, I don't know. I don't know how you're broke, whether you're buying houses, you're buying electric vehicles, you're buying appliances. You seem to be doing very well day to day. Takes money to do that. Some people survive better than others. Like I said, don't come to the Philippines unless you're prepared for anything that might come up. A good example was, I didn't expect to get that fucking kidney stone shit, but it happened. I don't have no insurance. I had to pay hard cash, a lot, out of my pocket. A lot, and I mean a lot. They charge you for every piece of cotton, for every instrument that they used, for the operating room, you name it. It's nothing free. In life, although some people think it's not a free ride. Like they say, you pay, you pay. One way or the other. But the one thing, and you got to understand that, put yourself in my shoes. It's real easy for people to make comments and say, oh, gee, he's putting this guy through some agony because he called you a bad word. Well, folks, it's according to what they called you. There's some things that you just don't say. Just hold back on it. You may not like somebody, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. If you have to verbalize it, just verbalize, hey, I don't like you. For whatever reason, it don't matter. Say it and get it over with. But don't come on your show every day and label somebody as a child molester or something like that. That's probably not a healthy thing to do. Because some people wouldn't go to court. Some people won't go to court. They'll take matters in their own fucking hand. And I know somebody who's very lucky. Because I actually have a life out here, because I have an actual family. They hate to hear that word, you got family. I wouldn't do anything that's stupid. Did it ever enter my mind? Fuck yeah. You kidding me? How I was raised? And there would be no courts. There wouldn't be any courts. Zero courts. I would take care of that in my own way. And don't think I never thought about it. But if I was to maintain a life out here, that probably wouldn't be the wisest idea. Sometimes you got to think before you say something. And we all make mistakes. I don't think anybody's perfect out there, and I'll be the first one to tell you I'm not perfect, but I got my moments, and I will speak my mind. Jerry says, people that live off the government always look for a free ride in life. Yeah, that's true, Jerry. But life is not a free ride. Not even if you're a hunter and gatherer, it's not a free ride, because you got to go out there and hunt for your food. That takes a lot of effort, and sometimes they fail, you know. You're almost done?
Almost done.
Almost done? All right. And you're having your coffee. What, no bread?
No.
So,
No bread.
Cheese.
No.
I know you probably have a piece of cake. Oh, you didn't think about that.
Or not now.
Yeah, later on. Later on. I'm not done with my tea yet here, but
We go swimming.
who's going swimming?
Me?
Are you going to go too?
Yeah.
You're not going to go in the water, though.
I go in the water.
I haven't seen you go in the water in a long time. Are you kidding me?
Swimming pool. I go swimming pool.
Oh, you're going to go to the pool. Which one? Well, we won't say on the air. Okay.
Where?
Don't say where. Okay. I haven't gone in the water in a long time. I hate to tell you, as nice as it looks out there, these waters are not clean. I'd sooner swim in a swimming pool than swim in the ocean. It doesn't mean I don't go in there and I never go in there. I have, but it looks just crystal clear. It really does. It looks beautiful. But I know better. Believe me, I do. So yeah, let me go in the other room to talk about this, because I want to talk about it around. Yeah, I do take it to heart. I do take it to a certain degree of, trying to think of the right word for this. Let's just say that you call me a name, I could handle it, but don't call me certain names or don't label me as something that I'm not, because it's according to what you say. Someone could call me a cripple if I'm not crippled, and I'd say, oh, okay, I didn't know I was crippled. Somebody could say that you're good looking, you're bad looking. Somebody could say you're too short. Or you really don't hold a college degree. I've heard that one. That's like, whatever stuff, But when somebody calls you a child molester, that's like one of the most extreme things that somebody could do on here. That's extreme. And believe me, Popeye's lucky I don't live anywhere near him. Forget about courts, like I said. Popeye acts like a tough guy, hiding behind his fucking phone or laptop, whatever he talks on. But he would never, ever, ever, ever say that to somebody's face, because he knows he won't have a face left. Not my fault that he's living a horrible life. And he lives and breeds me. That's his sad situation. It's not mine. But I guarantee you, and I would chance it in America, I don't think I'd chance it here. But in America, I'd chance it. I don't know, misdemeanor or something to punch him out. I'd be willing to get thrown in a clink, for smashing his fucking face. I'd have no problem with that if I was in the United States and I was there. He would never face me. That's the reality. Popeye would never face me. He would never face any of his adversaries out there. Speaking about running their mouth, famous line seemingly on here, Popeye runs his mouth all the time. But he's a coward. Just because he's in the Navy doesn't make him some hero. Doesn't make him a strong man. But to hide behind your computer and say things that I had a kid on my lap, nobody's ever been on my lap, and calling me a pedophile, Robert would never do that face to face with me. Ever. I'll guarantee you it. That's a guarantee. He would never do that because he's a coward. So it's real easy to fling a lot of piles of shit at other people behind the protective environment of their home and distance. That's what Popeye does. He lives by that. But one day, who knows? Might be somebody that Popeye pissed off that might make a visit to their house unexpectedly. Surprise! But Robert doesn't think that way. But he does get worried because I really remember several incidents with somebody, Rain Man or somebody, there was a couple of people that said they were going to come over there and kick his ass. And I swear to you guys, nothing wrong with my memory with this, where he was very active on YouTube, he did not get on for 6 months to a year. I remember that distinctly. I remember that. He's a coward. Hello, come on, Steve. Welcome. I remember when Popeye did that. He's a coward. But you know what I find really funny is when Popeye gets drunk, and he had it out with Gary from, what was the name of his show again? Philippines, whatever. Gary hasn't been on for quite a while. And you should have heard him if you weren't there to witness this. And they had an extreme fight on there. They were both drunk, actually. I think Gary was drinking and Popeye was drinking. You know when Popeye's drinking, you'll hear him how he raises his voice and then his voice kind of cuts out because he's a smoker. Although, he likes to bring up the fact that maybe I smoke still. And you could tell by his voice, as I said, a smoker knows another smoker. That's a fact. At the end of every sentence, he has to kind of clear his throat. And the groveliness to his voice. I know he's a smoker. So apparently, Popeye, you're not as perfect as you try to portray yourself on here. But I remember he was fighting with Gary. That was funny than shit. They all fought with each other from Triple R. They were at each other's throats. Numerous members of that so-called crew, they were even against Roberto. And that's an interesting thing to bring up. What happened to Roberto? Did he croak too? Because something's going on with that. And I noticed that nobody's talking about it. I think they know something because they considered Roberto part of their hate crew. They're not talking about it. They don't want to give me the satisfaction is what it is. But Roberto always has something to say. He'll do a show about me or put a title on the show to get my attention, then he won't do a show. Something went down with Roberto. I don't know what. I don't have any information on that. He either died And I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I think some of these people might know, but they're just not talking about it because they don't want to give me the satisfaction of knowing that. I don't like these people. And quite frankly, I don't give a shit if they did drop dead. I don't. They're nobody to me. Dust in the wind. And a lot of them it's been dropping like flies. Everybody has a time limit. Although some people think they're going to live forever, I don't think that way. I take each day at a time. You might read on there, well, if you hit 70 years old, you're going to die soon. I don't know who made up that rule. It's not based on reality. Well, they'll say, well, the average age is so and so and so. Doesn't mean they're not going to transcend that age. Doesn't mean that because they hit a certain digit that they're ready to die. You can go and live another 20 years or more. I told you, I have an uncle, a real uncle, who's over 100 years old. 100 years and 5 months. He never thought he'd live that long. He thought he would kick out at about 97, then got surprised. There's some good genetics on my dad's side of the family. And by the way, as far as genetics are concerned, it's not like the full meal deal. It's you have a 25%, only 25% chance of carrying those genes or the effectiveness, of the genes, the good genes that for longevity. But it gives you a 25% boost of having that side of the family who are known to live well into their 80s and 90s, even hit 100. So Tony is 100, and his sister, one of them is still alive. She's in her high 90s. The other ones died. One died almost hitting 100, just shy of her birthday. And the others lived to be high 80s or 90s. My grandparents on my dad's side, that would be my Uncle Tony's parents. His father lived to be 97 and his wife lived to be 95. Pretty good deal. But it's really according. How long do you really want to live if you can't be mobile? Like my girlfriend's mom, as I said, she's been bedridden for over 3 years now. And she's still kicking. She's 88 years old. That's not the life I'd want. Because she has to be taken care of in every way. And it becomes a burden to the daughter who's taking care of her at that house. But it's a burden of love. And she's a great lady, too. Every time I come over there, she reaches for my hand because she really likes me, and I like her. I said she's a tough old bird. She really is. But I don't, when I think about it, I don't mind living to a really ripe old age, but I want to be able to walk. I want to be able to clean my own ass. I don't want to be totally dependent. If there's a partial dependence on certain things, maybe that'd be acceptable, but I don't want to be totally dependent on somebody else. I'd rather just pass. That's me, anyway, I don't want to be a burden on anybody. That's not my goal. Tell you the truth, it's just amazing how much time has passed. You might hear me talk about, I can't believe what age I'm at. Have I been in a coma for a long time? How did time, there's something psychological. When you're a kid, you think you live forever. Your mind thinks differently. But when you get older, it just seems that the years go by really fast. I don't know why. But the time goes by. Next thing you know, it's another Thanksgiving. It's another Christmas. Then you got another birthday coming. he said, well, how did I get to be this age? Well, you got lucky, or you did something in your life, or good genes, genetics, or you did something in your life that allowed you to live that long. Obviously, if you abuse your body and intensively abuse your body, then yeah. But then there's some people, not many, but there's some people out there that are not only fat, obese, but they eat everything in the world and they live to be a long age, but not many of them. I don't have figures on that. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But I know that there's a large percentage of people, two categories: obese or really extraordinarily tall. People generally that are extremely tall, like over 6'5", that's pretty tall. If they are higher in height than that, they don't tend to live a long time. Also, there's wear and tear on your joints more than someone that's actually smaller. Look at these athletes, runners, and stuff like that. They're the biggest sufferers of joint problems, knee replacements, you name it. Because they're putting a lot of pressure on their joints when you're running all the time. That's why they say that walking, a brisk walk, is one of the best exercises you can do. A brisk walk. A brisk walk. But you got to do a little bit of weights because actually that's even more important than walking because you got to maintain some muscle tone. You got to be able to carry your body around, especially your legs. I need to work on my legs a lot more. That's what carries you around. The legs. That's why it is said that do something with your legs. Walk upstairs, down, up and down. I don't know. If you have that kind of equipment at home to do leg presses or things like that, I don't have that. That would be ideal. I don't think I have the space for a machine like that. I don't know. There's things I probably could do. But if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is. Unless you got a loving partner. But even she could only do so much for you. You have to be willing to do something for yourself. And that's a fact. Well, I guess it's pretty much a monologue this morning. But yeah, in all seriousness, nobody wants to fall. But navigate yourself a little bit better as you get older. Because the last thing you want to do is to trip and fall or go down the steps that's slippery. Take it step by step. Navigate your way down the steps. All it takes, if you're at a more advanced age, all it takes is one fall. And that could be your death sentence. Doesn't mean that the fall is going to kill you. No. But if you fracture your hip or anything like that, you're going to be laid up for a long time. And it's being laid up, meaning you can't walk, get out of a chair, whatever. Your cardio is going to go to hell. Your blood flow is going to go to hell. That's why you die within, they say, a 12-month period. What comment? What comment is it? What did I miss? Maybe somebody made a comment that's blocked on here and I don't see it. What's the comment there, Mr. Come On Steve? Clue me in. Enlighten me. Above, what comment is that? By you or? I'm not seeing anything I haven't read. Well, that's something you're seeing that I don't see on here because maybe the person is blocked and I don't see their comments. You said hi, Frank. Only comment I see from you, I think, is hi, Frank. So what am I missing on here? Hi, perhaps you might want to repeat yourself then. After you said hi, Why am I not able to scroll on here? Well, why don't you just repeat what you said? Because I'm trying to scroll on here and it's not allowing me to scroll. I don't know why. This phone could be a little temperamental. Comments, comments. Did my comments stop on here suddenly? I don't know. I'll be damned if I know. It's really funny on this phone because I can't see where I can make a comment on my own show. I don't see the space box here. I'm not seeing it. This phone is weird sometimes. Let's see. No, highlighted, save, no. No, it's just not scrolling. It's not, for some reason, it's not scrolling. I don't know, I might be missing out on my comments here. You could try repeating what you said and see if it shows out. Or is my other phone charged up? I could look on there. I could try. Oh, here's a comment. Mr. Merciful, maybe the YouTube didn't allow the comment to post. His first comment I see is Hi Fright. Yeah, I don't see anything else except what he just recently said. Yes, me. After I said hi, then do it again. I'm not seeing what you said. I don't know, maybe it wasn't important. Well, I'm not seeing it on here. I'm not avoiding any comments on here, but I have some people blocked on here, and there's a possibility you could see. Oh, you will what? This cryptic, man. If I block somebody from the show or something, chances are I'm not. You may see their comments, but I may not see their comments. That's the difference. Let me find my own. Okay, repeat it. Save me the trouble here. My goodness. Let's see. Do you know that my phone, my other phone, goes to my other channel I had when I was under strictly My Philippines Interest? It does not go to my current channel. Okay. Mazda 9. Come on, Save C says, in the last simulclass, I caught him reporting different commenters in your chat. I still don't understand. And who are you talking about? Who's he? You say in the last simulcast, or that Popeye did, I caught him reporting different commenters in your chat. Oh, okay. In other words, he didn't want anybody in there that actually likes me. Oh, that's something new. Gotcha. I'm sorry, because some people on here, they speak rather cryptic. Some people don't put full sentences in here, and maybe they can't. And they expect me to understand it. Yeah, say hello to Popeye. You don't expect Popeye to do a simulcast on here, but he's giving me some publicity. Maybe it's not good all the time, but people who know me, okay? People make their own evaluations. And they don't have to listen to creeps like Popeye, these no-life sapsuckers that come on here because that's all they could do, all they know how to do with their time. Oh, he'll say things, I'm not a family man, don't have a family. I definitely proved I certainly do. And people that actually respect me. Contrary to a lot of the negative comments that people say, I have no family problems here. I might cut off a little bit. I got to throw something in the washer here. I'll be in a dead spot here. I'll guarantee you almost that it'll cut out. It'll cut out at one point or another. I told you I have a dead spot in the back of the house here. I just got to throw this shit in the washer. And I'll go back inside. And we'll continue the show for a little while. Excuse me, the live stream. Okay. We'll continue the live stream. Let me just throw a little detergent in here. I'll tell you one thing, we go through a lot of clothes in this house. But I will tell you, and I'll repeat what I said earlier. If anybody wonders why somebody's going through hell right now, it's because I take that shit really seriously. I said, you can call me any name in the book practically, but don't be ever calling me something like that. I love children. I don't make love to children. I love children. I would never do harm to a child. And that's why, not just me, but anybody, I mean, they're not going to take that with a grain of salt. I don't care how mad you are with somebody, you just don't act on a regular basis. And then he's scratching his head wondering why he's facing charges. And I don't want this show to be about him. I don't want to give him that credit. But I'm just kind of making a point here. There are things you do on YouTube and outside of YouTube, and the things that you don't do. Like I said, under different circumstances, there wouldn't be court hearings. As I told you, where I come from and how I was raised, I'll tell you straight up, court would have never happened. Never. Never. Because I would not be able to live with myself about it. Hope you understand what that's all about. I said, getting locked up in jail is what happens when you mistakenly think that you're untouchable. Exactly, Mazda 9. There are things you can do, there's things that you can't do, and that is one thing that you just don't do on here. Like I said, I understand being mad. I've had a lot of moments where I was pissed off at people. I'm human. And I let loose of a few words every now and again. The big difference is, are you going to do a show every single day? An upload or a live stream? Where you're going to be calling somebody that over and over again? You know, you let somebody go the first time, okay? And we're really pushing it. You may let them go the second time, figuring they're trying to get your goat or whatever. But beyond that time, with two particular individuals that seem to be against each other for whatever reason, you just can't let it go. So I really don't. Okay, yeah, I know it's buffering because I was in a dead zone. I already told you I was going to be in a dead zone. Okay. Should be a lot better now, but I'm trying to say, unfortunately, if it was broken up, I said under different circumstances there wouldn't be any courts involved. I'm living in a foreign country, so henceforth there's things you can do and there's things you can't do. Understand that and where I'm coming from with that. Different story. If I was in the USA and that shit happened to me, there wouldn't be no fucking courts. None. Not how I was raised. You were raised to respect your family, and you hope to get respect back. And whether it's your family, your peers, co-workers, I don't care what it is. There's a certain amount of respect that you demand. And if you don't get it, you let the person know, hey man, you're not respecting me. I told you about that one dude I worked with at Corvette's department store in Pelham, New York, Pelham, Westchester County. And this guy, there's no court involved here. We were working the floor in the record department. You remember records? Vinyl records? Well, we were working the floor sales, whatever, you know. And this guy, John Carr, C-A-R-R, always remembered his name. And John was this creepy little guy. And I don't know what he thought he was doing, but it's worth repeating. I've talked about this before. That someone only has so much tolerance for something. So what John decided to do, play around. Of course, we had to sweep the floors at the end of the night. That's what you do. So we were sweeping the floors, the record department. And John kept on. He had a little pile of dust, whatever it was. And he starts sweeping it on my feet. I said, what the fuck you doing? You know, obviously told him to stop that, right? Being nice to him. John maybe thought he was playing around. But then John did it a second time. I'm beginning to think, like, what the fuck, man? I gave him a warning. But then John did it a third time. That was it. I already told him to stop. My hand went for his fucking neck immediately. I warned him. Third warning. The floor manager came up and broke us up. Now, it was the end of the night. We had to go home. And I guess both of us depended on some transportation to get home. So out in the parking lot, John decided to continue it. He didn't like the idea that I grabbed him by his fucking neck. His eyes were almost bulging out of his fucking head. But John decided to take it up another step in the parking lot, and that was the worst thing he did. Again, if it wasn't for the manager being there, I don't know what would have happened. I beat the shit out of him in the parking lot. Had him in a headlock, my knees were going to his face and head, and the floor manager was out there and he broke it up. Well, I quit the job at that point. So I figured I couldn't work with this guy, and we were probably going to be reprimanded anyway. So that's what happened with that. In other words, I'm saying, and if you want to condense this, is that, you know, you could, hello again. What are you doing with a gun? You don't want a gun. No, right. You don't want a gun. I mean, to think that I could harm an innocent child, I mean, yeah, I'm going to take that personally. You're goddamn right I am. You're goddamn right I am. And if the dude can't understand that, then he never will. There's things you do and there's things you don't do. I don't have any remorse for the direction I have taken. Zero. I have zero tolerance for that kind of shit. Because I don't really care how mad you are at somebody. You don't have to listen to their channel. You don't have to comment. You don't have to say anything. If you want to say something, hey, dude, I don't like you. You let the person know in so many words. Be blunt or whatever. That's fine. But don't come on your channel for 3-4 fucking years. I have my limit, you know. And put that out to a broad audience, which has a possibility of thousands of viewers. Maybe my peers are listening to it for some reason. Could be old girlfriends, could be family members, whatever. That hear this stuff where somebody's calling you a child molester. That's something you just don't do. You don't do that. Every show? All right, you were maybe pissed off and you called a few names of somebody. Bad on you. But to continue it on a daily basis, like this guy did, you knew where this was going to go. Come on, you had to know that. You could only take so much. You could excuse somebody, you could forgive somebody, but there's some people that you just can't forgive. Especially when they're doing it on a regular basis. When the only ammunition they got is something that happened in Hawaii with a dispute with my tenants. And he brings that up constantly. Go and pay the fine. Well, if you don't know the story, I'm not going to get into it. It's just I had some greedy tenants that saw a payday, saw a paycheck. They didn't pay their rent for 4 months. They did $8,000 worth of damage on my unit. I couldn't get them out of there because the laws seem to yield in the direction of the tenants in this world. The tenants have more rights than the landlords do. And trust me, I know that. That's why I decided to sell the fucking house. It was too much of a fucking headache. And then for my brother's sake too, because he got involved in between us because he kind of figured them to be friends, but they really weren't. As he found out. They wanted a payday. That's all it was. But this particular person harps on this all the time and calls me a child predator because I sang a song. A song. Well, I was doing a live stream and he came in at the time. Nobody was sitting on anybody's lap, as Popeye likes to embellish this. Nobody touched a child, nor would I ever touch a child. My girlfriend's kids around me all the time. If she didn't trust me as a human, or even her own children's parents, her daughter's children, example. If I was that kind of person, they wouldn't allow me alone around these children. So yes, I do take this quite offensively. Yeah, get mad at somebody, fine, get mad. Call them an idiot, call them a moron, whatever makes you feel good about yourself. That's where you got to draw the line. Me and all you out there. Don't ever let that happen to you. Take action. You decide what action you want to take, legal or otherwise. That's an individualistic thing that you have to decide what to do. But you have to examine external circumstances. Where do you live? You're not living in your own country. There's things you could do out here and there's things that you just cannot do out here. Yeah, if you stay humble, it'll do you well in life, yeah. Maz9 says, sorry, I've been reading the comments here, but getting locked up in jail is what happens when you mistakenly think that you're untouchable. And that applies to a lot of people, Mazda. I could think of a few off my head. No, it's something you just don't do. It is something that somebody did do on a consistent and persistent basis. And look at his situation right now. It's not very pretty. He's paying the price. And rightfully so. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me on that. Unless you're a supporter for some reason of this guy. Or it's just simply because you don't like me. So you figure, what's the worst of the two evils, right? In their head. It's not acceptable on any level to me. Never was. No matter what age I am. I grew up in an environment where you never talked about somebody's mother that died, or you never talked about anybody in a derogative way in a family. It was the easy way to meet your demise. And where I grew up, many people have. I've seen and known things you wouldn't believe. growing up. I know how the politics work in New York. I don't know where you live, or grew up in, but I grew up seeing things, knowing things that would curl your hair. Told you, my father got robbed by some drug addict. Mm-hmm. Well, he wasn't home. They kicked in the door. You can see the footprint on there. And they took whatever money he had and his television set. My father had a friend named George who was basically a numbers runner. That's all really George was, really. He was a numbers runner. Oh, George used to come over. He had the big black Cadillac. A really nice guy, though. He'd bring my father to the VA hospital, things like that. He'd do favors and all that because he liked my dad. My dad was very friendly, and everybody liked my father. My father wasn't a well-educated person, didn't have any special big-time job or position. He was a simple guy. He was a house painter. There was nothing wrong with that. But people didn't judge him for that. They judged him by his character, and they all liked him. My father was social, friendly, never harmed anybody. So when he got ripped off, they left a cane, a very telltale cane. I don't know why. But apparently this person used to walk around with this cane. And somehow, some way, he left it behind. Well, my father mentioned this to George, and word got out. And they found who the person was that ripped off my dad. This is street justice kind of stuff, okay? Because my dad was well liked, and how certain people did not like drug addicts, and we knew this guy was. I didn't actually find this out for years later. I never knew about this. I never knew about it. Till later, my brother told me. I never heard about it. What happened? Well, apparently, George found out about this. And George was very highly connected. Then, several years, no more than that, passed by before I ever found out what happened. Because I didn't know. I honestly didn't know. But apparently they found this guy who ripped off my dad. And he got a hot shot. He liked shooting up. Well, they shot him up with a hot shot. He disappeared. That's street justice. That's street justice. That's the way they were in New York. If they liked you, it didn't have to pertain to just because you were an Italian-American family. It's just that people in my family were more connected than I thought they were. Just things I never knew. Even my Uncle Tony, he told me something that freaked me out. Nothing that he did. Well, something he did. He didn't kill anybody, anything like that. I mean, but to my surprise, Tony knew all the, so I call it the mafiosa in town. It's one big family. Tony wasn't mafiosa, nothing like that. But, however, if you were well known in town, you had a friend or relative or somebody that was mafiosa. Great benefit. Especially if they liked you. You didn't have to be part of the family, so to speak. If they liked you, they'd help you out. George did. He put the word out, and I never knew anything about this. It was many years later that my brother told me what happened. I had no clue. Because I never bothered to ask, did they ever find the guy that ripped off Dad? I never really asked. I was in Seattle at the time when this happened, and I didn't know anything about it. I heard that he got ripped off, But I didn't know what the end result of all this was. This is what I mean about street justice. You can go to court, or you could take the matter in your own hand. I think the best way to do it, if you're living in a foreign country, go to court. Go to court. It's your best bet. No matter how much someone challenged you physically, and you know they couldn't do anything to you because they could punch their way out of a paper bag. Do it legally. You're in a different country. Don't get involved with any kind of violence. Could put you in a world of hurt. So don't do that. But where I grew up, I'm being honest, this kind of shit went on all the time. They weren't going to go to court and get involved with court or any legalities. Somebody insulted your family, that was the worst thing you could fucking do. Other cultures are like that too, but I could speak about the Italian culture. They were absolutely like that. Unspoken. They just took care of business quietly. Never knew anything about it until it must have been, tell you the truth, it must have been 10 years later. 10 years later, I find out from my brother. Because I asked him, whatever did happen with that? And he told me. And I was a little bit shocked. No, my father didn't put a hit on anybody. He's not like that. But somebody that really cared for him, that really liked him, decided to help him out. No instructions from my dad. My dad is not like that. But somebody who gave a shit about my dad and thought what happened to him was really wrong, especially because it came from a drug addict. Which people in the, let's just call it the family out there, if they weren't dealing with drugs themselves or selling them, there were some people that did not like drugs in the so-called Italian families out there. You may know it as mafiosi, you may, whatever. There were certain factions of these people that were very much against drugs. And then there were others that promoted things like drugs to make money, but these people were not related to drugs at all. And they protected each other. If they gave a shit about you, thought you were a good man, they do something about it. I never got involved with that kind of shit. I could have. I could have. I never took that direction. Not at all. And when my brother got involved with drugs and everything, right, he saved my life, really. You would think that a lot of brothers will do what the other brother does, but I never did. When I seen what he went through and the pain he caused my parents, there was no way in the world I was ever going to get into street drugs. It was not my gig. It was just not my gig. I was the only one that nevertheless finished high school, finished college. None of the other members of the family really did. I had a different goal in life. And whether or not I actually worked in a profession that I studied for is irrelevant. I managed to do that. I managed to spend X amount of years learning. You can't knock that. You move, situations change, you get into something else. It's done all the time. You got the sheepskin, but you wind up in a different profession or type of job that maybe you did not anticipate going into. But the bottom line is that you have to survive and you have to pay the rent. If you thought that you're studying on a particular topic that you were going to go into that profession, you might have had that idea of doing so, but situations change. When I moved to Seattle, I really didn't see an opportunity for that. Unless I wanted to do shit like weddings and stuff, and that was not my forte. I saw photography as an art, more of a personal venture than to go into it commercially. And I had opportunities to go through it. My God, I don't know why I didn't do this, but it was beneath me. You were probably going to say, man, if I were you, I would have done that. I was offered a job by a photographer who actually did a lot of stuff for Hustler magazine. And that was like, very graphic stuff. And I could have started off as a lighting assistant and all that and blah, 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 blah. But I turned down the job. I just didn't really see that as a direction for me in photography because I was more into the art of photography. I was more into my own personal interest in photography, landscapes, people, character shots of people, and stuff like that. And I was very good at what I did. But I just really couldn't see degrading myself doing stuff like that. It doesn't mean that I am a prude or something like that, but I don't know, it would desensitize me in some way. I just couldn't see myself doing that. Some guys will say, "Yeah, man, I jump at the first opportunity with that. Look at these beautiful ladies spreading their legs for the pictures and all that shit." But that wasn't who I was. I remember being at School of Visual Arts, and we had to practice some studio photography, right? I'll never forget this one guy, Bruce Middleman, Mittleman. And, the school would provide us with models. These are chicks that are looking to make a few bucks and even get some photos free. That's what you did. Because you always gave them copies for their portfolio, whatever. And they were trying to struggle in life. They were doing some modeling and whatnot. And some of them were damn good looking. Some of them were not very good looking. But when you needed nudes, school was willing to provide us. And same for the art instruction classes, drawing and all that. They provide nude models, male and female. Well, we had our chance to do some studio commercial stuff. It was up to you as to what you learned, lighting, and everything you knew about the camera, using light and shadow as your tools to produce the image that you wanted to use, and knowing how to use light and shadow. Well, we had this one girl come in, and she wasn't terribly bad looking. She had a little bit of, I don't know, she didn't have the smoothest complexion. Now, Bruce, right away, wanted to, well, actually, this wasn't the model I'm talking about. It was some other gal, some really skanky chick. And he just wanted to do lewd pictures with her. I mean, why, you want to show that to your instructor? I mean, just get real about your art. But that's what he wanted to do. But when I had the model come in, her name was Melissa. I still remember her name, Melissa. And I remember, okay, she wasn't a bad looking gal, but she had a little bit stuff with her complexion. So it was up to me as to what I learned. How do I turn this woman into, to show her beauty and just not show some of her imperfections? So I set up the lighting, and I did a typical kind of a 45-degree angle lighting with some opaque lighting, has like lucite on it to make the lighting more soft. And I'd position her on a chair against a gray backdrop, black and white. And I was using a 120 format camera, 2.25 by 2.25 negative, film. So you look at the person, and you want to keep it as simple as you can. Remember, the lens is very intrusive. And you don't want to feel like you're sticking a camera in somebody's face. If you want to bring the real personality and beauty out of somebody, you spend a little time talking to them first, get to know you. That's how you get these great character shots of people. You don't shove a lens in your face. It makes people feel very uncomfortable. I learned that. But with Melissa, I wanted to bring out, see if I had the talent to do this, to bring out her beauty. As I said, there's something like her complexion. Otherwise, she was fairly good looking. And I wasn't going to do anything graphic. I wanted to be able to show that she was indeed nude, but not exposing her vagina and even all of her, you know, her breast. So what I did was I made the lighting so that although she had her legs crossed on the chair and her breasts were definitely showing, but I used the light to kind of put a little bit of shadow toward her breast, where you could see her breasts, but they weren't very pronounced. You were trying to bring out the beauty of this person and the beauty of the human body, especially when it comes to a woman. So upon developing the negatives, I developed it so that the shadow and the dark areas would show out, but not completely. Then I did another technique where I did a little bit of screening. It was very simply done. You could take a nylon sock and put it under the enlarger lens to soften the picture, to smooth out the blemishes on her face. The end result was it was definitely a piece of art. And I got to tell you something. The worst thing, I mean, I have the negatives, but when I moved out of Hawaii, by the way, I'm kind of getting beyond myself here. I gave her a copy of that photograph because I ran into her. When I got a hold of her, okay, I got some pictures for you. I seen her on the street, coming down from School of Visual Arts on East 23rd. And I gave her a copy of her photograph. She couldn't believe it. And that made me really feel good. She couldn't believe that was her. I said, yeah, that's you. I was very proud of what I created. It really made her happy. And my instructor, of course, loved it. She was a teacher from Finland who photographed a lot of famous artists. That was her gig. She's an artist herself photographically, and she used to take photographs of famous artists and caught them in a way that really showed out their character. She, of course, used the technique of getting to know and understand the characters that she photographed. She didn't stick a lens in their face. She did some fantastic work. She was actually notable for her work. And she saw that photograph of mine and some other stuff I've done too. And she let me know that, Frank, you got a little talent. You should just go in with this all the way. And the girl was really happy with that photograph. And it made me feel good inside that I created a piece of art. And that's what it was. It wasn't lewd. It wasn't meant to be lewd in any way, exposing genitalia. It was a soft photograph that gave some detail, but not enough. It was very suggestive, and it wasn't lewd or rude. That's the art of photography, what control you have. Now everything is digital. The camera practically takes the pictures for you. You're not thinking about light and shadow. Nothing. You're just taking pictures. Every grandma could use the camera now. Photography became a lost art. I'm not saying that you can't be creative with a digital camera. I'm not saying that at all. You can be. It's a lost art of photography, and that's one of the reasons, among others, that I did not continue in that direction of photography. Because when the digital age came, it put a lot of people out of work unless they had to give into it. Photographers that did weddings and events and all that. So I never was able to get into that. My heart was not into that. You ever see the movie with Clint Eastwood, Bridges of Madison County? That was me. You made something to eat?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bridges of Madison County, I really related to that movie. Why? Because I loved covered bridges. And Clint Eastwood was in this role. He had worked for National Geographic, which would have been a dream of mine, doing field work. And he was traveling around, and it's a great story, by the way, before I go eat. He was traveling around photographing these old bridges, which were dying off. They were collapsing, and there's not many covered bridges anymore. And that was one of his assignments. So he met this Italian lady. She was married to this simple man. It's out in the countryside. And she really loved this man. She had a family with him. But then Clint came along and they started to talk. And she realized that her life was really mundane. But at the end, it turns out how important her family was and how, what a loving, wonderful person that she had as a husband, despite the attraction of Clint Eastwood at the time, who played this role as photographer. And they fell in love with each other. Something happened to me, so similar that it's uncanny. This girl I know from school, she was married to a cop, Tom, and she invited me up to the Catskills where she lives. And me and this gal, I won't mention her by name, but we were friends. And she knew I liked to do photography and covered bridge. She said, "We have a covered bridge near us. You should come down." I said, "Will Tom mind that? Is that okay?" And it was okay. So I came up there to the Catskills, stayed a couple of days or a night. I don't know how long I stayed. And we went over to this covered bridge. Oh, that was cool. Now, afterwards, I guess there was this little bond that we had, and I think she was having trouble with her husband at some point. So we were talking on the phone a lot and developed a little bond. It was the same situation as the movie. She was married, she had kids, she loved her husband, but there were some problems, and she gravitated toward me. And we talked on the phone for a long time. And it was the same as the movie. Remember the movie, she had to stay with her family, and she knew that. Clint Eastwood was standing in the rain, watching her in the truck with her husband, and her hand was gripped on the door handle. And she had to decide for that moment, she knew that was the last moment, whether she should run to Clint Eastwood or stay with her husband. Quite a scene on that movie. Watch Bridges of Madison County. I ask you to watch that movie. Look it up. Please do, if you haven't seen it. It's almost a similar situation to me. He did spend some time with her, but in the end, she knew that the family unit was more important, that there was really nothing wrong with her husband. He was a loving, simple guy that had a job, and they had 2 children, and the family unit was really important. And despite the love that she developed for Clint at the time, the photographer, she realized, and they talked about it, that I can't do this. So on a rainy day in an old Ford truck, she's going down the street, and there was Clint. He was going to be on his way. Good old Clint Eastwood. And she sees him on the road there, and they're looking at each other. And her hand firmly implanted on that door handle, because she was ready to run out of that truck and leave her husband to be with Clint. She developed a deep love for this guy. She didn't plan on it. It just happened. But something like that sort of happened. There was an emotional bond between me and this one gal that lived in the Catskills. Okay, and but she had a family. And she had a husband that she loved, although maybe they had a few problems. But she had 2 children. We couldn't keep going on with this. So we faded away. Occasionally now on her Facebook, I'll say hello or something, but that's it, you know. It was uncanny. It was just outrageous. The greatest profession in the world. I would have liked to work for National Geographic. Loving covered bridges. It was very similar to that movie. And I relate to it. Every time I see that movie, I think of that situation with her. It was very similar. So check it out when you have a chance. Bridges of Madison County. I kind of relived that incident in my own way. If you see it, you'll understand exactly what was going on in that movie. And as I could relate to that, I say about an 80% relation to that movie. Him being a photographer, liked to go out in the field, working for National Geographic, covered bridges, which was an assignment of his, and then meeting this woman and falling in love and not expecting it, and vice versa. But you had to hold on to the family unit. You had to understand I could not afford to leave this guy. He's done nothing wrong with me but take care of me and love me. And we have two loving children. She couldn't leave that situation. She was so balanced between leaving him and going off with Clint and not. Quite a story, huh? Well, it's real. It's a real story. I always think back on that. In fact, I got to watch that movie again, but I don't know, part of me doesn't want to watch that. So I was able to relate to that movie. But I never got into my photography. When digital era came up, I said, the art of photography died. When you develop, you process your own negatives. You don't send it to a store. Black and white, though. I never got into color. It's not just throwing a chemical in your little stainless steel container. It's knowing what kind of chemistry to use to give you a certain result. How much you will agitate it in there. You have to shake it around to make sure that the developer in there was not stagnant. You have to move it around. But the more you moved it around, you created too much contrast on that negative. So when you go to print that negative, there was just too much contrast. So you're going to be losing detail in the shadows. So when you took a picture, if it was important what was in the shadow, you would take your light meter, or if you were good enough to estimate what kind of f-stops you're going to use in your aperture, and I was pretty good with that, you'd measure to, if you really wanted detail in a darkened area of a mountain, I don't care what it was, you take your measurements, your light measurements from the darkest area on the image. But when you develop the negative, you would develop it so that you weren't going to lose detail in that dark area, and you weren't going to go all washed out on your highlighted areas that were brighter, because you would wash it all out. You would get the detail in your shadows, but you wouldn't get the detail in your highlighted image. So there was an art to this. Then it came to the printing. It was the same thing. What grade level of paper for contrast you use? I used to use a 3. I used to use paper that was sepia toned by Ilford, which was, and some Kodak products. You had to know what, like D74, I used to use D74 as my developer. You'd have to know how much dilution, how long you keep it in there. But when that magical image started showing out, that was like exciting to me. To see the end product, and it worked out the way I wanted to. Shadow in the detail, detail in the shadows. You maintain the highlights of the skin or the scene that you're photographing, and it's not washed out. That was an art. Now you got digital cameras and point and shoot. Not much of an art to it, unless you want to do all this editing and add all this shit that the cameras can do, and or have an editing program. I did it all by hand. I use filters, glass filters on my camera. If I wanted to do a black and white photograph, even a color, and you wanted the white clouds to show out on a black and white, according to how much contrast you wanted, you use a yellow K2 filter that will darken the blue of the sky. It'll cancel out the blue and look a little bit darker to show out the clouds. Now, if you want a really dramatic effect, you'd use a red filter. And that red filter would make the blue sky almost look black. And the white clouds would show out like a really dramatic photograph. You did that with filters. You weren't fucking with a digital camera. I did all that shit. To say that I didn't learn anything, whether I went into the profession or not, I learned a lot. I don't utilize it on my videos at all, obviously not. I don't get into editing all that. I just do a straight show. And when I photograph, I photograph. I'm not trying to do anything creative. Okay, what do we got here, sweetheart? Oh, we got some ham and scrambled eggs and toast. Right on. Oh my God, there's some leftover chicken. If I cared to have it, don't let them eat that.
Yeah.
Let them eat the lasagna and leave it for the kids.
Nandiyan na ng cellphone.
Okay, guys, I've been on here. I cannot believe it. It's 2 hours and 42 minutes. That must be really stressing Popeye out. He's not used to be being on this long. But we don't want to stress Popeye out. This is long enough. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my show, my philosophy, my talk of the arts, family situations, how people respect other people, and they do some really interesting things for families when they respect them, and that not everything is handled in court, my friends. I'll guarantee you not everything is handled in court. But situations sometimes require to keep things legal as you can. A little bit of everything for somebody on today's show, huh? I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, this is called family. Okay, guys, I gotta go. This is the longest show I did in quite a while here.